I'ma say it, you ready? The real bottleneck in your kitchen isn't that you can't read a recipe. Nope, because you're smart. And it's probably not that you don't have enough cookbooks, because let's be honest, you probably have too many.
And it's not even that you're uninspired, you're just exhausted.
And what's really killing your motivation isn't cooking, it's the chaos that comes before and after it. And that means you're probably spending more at the grocery store because you only have a half-baked plan. And when you do get the food home, the time to cook hits right after a full workday or the kids are having a meltdown and you haven't had 2 seconds to yourself. And this video gets that, but full disclosure, I am not a food blogger. I'm just a woman feeding herself and her family nutrient-dense, low-drama meals that work in real life. And I'm cooking in a townhouse kitchen with no island, no 8-burner Viking range. So if I can do it, you can do it. Nothing fancy here. All I'm sharing are real life dinner solutions, which surprisingly are how folks cooked 50, 75, even over 100 years ago. Yeah, you know, before everything became pre-portioned in a box or relied on a microwave. We're harkening back to a time when seasonal from-scratch meals were just normal. They might have gone out of fashion, but around here in this kitchen, oh, that's still in style. Now let me explain why this system is going to be your new best friend. First off, this meal plan does not require you to shop at any specific store. And you don't need to clip coupons or reference a spreadsheet. What? It's built on simplicity. Instead, it starts with what's in season, and in September, you've got plenty to work with. So that's right, I'm gonna need you to say goodbye to peak of summer produce, because now those prices are starting to climb fast and their flavor's already peaked, which means you need to pivot to the fruits and vegetables that are just starting to hit their stride. And they're gonna be better tasting, better priced, and honestly, more comforting as the weather shifts. And if you're like me, this also doubles as your opportunity to preserve, right? Because maybe this month you're canning tomatoes or freezing corn or starting a new ferment. This pairs nicely with that rhythm. So then all you do is pair seasonal veggies with kitchen staples that you likely already have on hand. Eggs, milk, cream cheese, mustard, vinegar, nothing weird. Because let's be honest, I am not about to go out and spend $8 on a jar of something that I'm only gonna use once. And I don't think you should either. And that's why this meal plan is flexible. All of these recipes are wildly adaptable. So swap the dairy, skip the meat, bulk it up, or tone it down. Now you're gonna see me making these meals for my actual family, but you should make it your own. In fact, that's part of the joy. And finally, you're gonna love this because all of these meals speak to each other. If every recipe in your week is totally different from the next, then your ingredients don't overlap. Sorry, you know I have dramatic tendencies. And that right there is how the bulk of kitchen waste happens. But this plan is intentionally connected. And that's how our grannies and great grandmas were doing it. One meal's leftovers showed up dressed differently the next night. And that is exactly what's gonna save you time, stress, and money. Now look, I don't holler without helping, so I've made this ridiculously easy for you. So paired with this video is a free printable that includes a free seasonal grocery guide, so you know what to buy and what to skip, a master ingredients list, easy recipe cards with room for notes or swaps, a substitution list for common allergens or dietary tweaks, and a fridge bin labeling reminder so everything stays grab and go. And if you're the kind of person who loves this meal flow where one dinner sets you up for the next, you're gonna love what I have waiting for you each week in the Dinner's Done dispatch. Oh yeah, it's got full meal sequences, and not even just for dinner, but also breakfast and lunch. And they're laid out with the same calm and care as this one. I'll leave the link in the description. All right, here's where I may sound a little crazy, but this is what I actually do. When I go to the grocery store, I bring 6 insulated bags just like this with me to the grocery store. So in my state, you've got to pay for grocery bags anyway, so I say, let them work for you. So I fill my cart with these bags, and 3 of them are dedicated to this week's meals. And that's because I'm only putting the ingredients for the meal sequences in these bags. And I love this because when I get home, I'm not playing meal Tetris when I go and show you the next part. I just slide the contents from the bag right into my meal bin. So let me be clear. I do not group by dairy or produce. I group by dinner. Because when it's 6:17 p.m. and your toddler or husband are hangry and you're on your last thread, do you really want to be searching all over the fridge for that last cucumber? No. Now y'all know that I love my fridge bins because they allow you to see exactly what you're working with. And it keeps your dinner plan out of the general fridge population so that nobody eats what you need for Tuesday's casserole. These bins are grab and go, and they are like your DIY HelloFresh kit box without the waste or the cost. And when it comes to what bins you use, don't overthink it. Obviously they need to fit your fridge, but I like ones that you can just wipe down so you can just clean them, ones that are clear so that you can see inside. And then ideally if they have handles, that's great too. Okay, so let's start prepping. And this is the part where in my mind, I'm pretending like you're just coming home from the store. So with this part of the video, you have two options. And if you haven't gone shopping, that is actually okay, because I would say still grab your bins and then put in your bins what you already have. And or you can just jot down what you need to grab. So in bin 1, we're gonna put our base recipe in our first meal. Bin 2 gets meals 2 and 3, and bin 3 gets the ingredients for meals 4 and 5. Each bin is gonna set you up with everything you need for each meal group. No scrambling required. So our base recipe is going to be maple mustard grilled chicken, or tempeh if you're a vegetarian. And off the bat, I wanna talk to you about the cut of meat I'm using. I am 100% using leg quarters, but you could also use chicken thighs. And let me just say this with love. Not every meal needs to start with boneless, skinless chicken breast. I mean, that cut is fine, but it's also expensive. But boneless thighs and leg quarters, they've got way more flavor, more forgiving cook times, and costs way less. And listen, making that switch alone could cut what you're paying for chicken each week in half. And that ain't small. That's a huge grocery win. And then if you really want to get down, you can trim the skin, but don't toss it, because you can render it to make something called smalt, which is just a fancy word for chicken fat, aka liquid gold, which makes roasted veggies or eggs taste incredible. Oh, this is 8 thighs for the week. Next, you're gonna need some maple syrup, which is such a cozy, comforting flavor as we inch towards fall. That's right, maple syrup is not just for pancakes. In fact, it has lots of antioxidants that support your immune system, including trace minerals like zinc and manganese, which help with inflammation and stress recovery. Now, if you're watching sugar or your carbs or, something like keto, a good maple syrup alternative that doesn't have an aftertaste is this wholesome yum stuff, which I just started using. I think this is, a little bit over a year ago. And so I like to have this, particularly when I'm making dishes for like my dad or my family or my brother, and they are on a more kind of keto diet. It's really good. So this uses allulose, and so it only has a total of 2 net carbs. Now, something you're likely to see me do is to cut a little bit of the maple syrup with honey, and that just helps to keep it cost effective. Now, y'all have seen me put canned foods and things that don't need to be refrigerated inside of my meal prep bins. And ordinarily I would do that because I still have room. However, I'm not going to do that with the maple syrup or the honey just because of the viscosity. Another thing that's great about maple syrup is that it's easier on your blood sugar than just straight white sugar. And you're not going to need too much, just like a spoonful or 2 to give you that smoky, sweet caramel note to the marinade that we're making. You're also going to need some mustard. You can use Dijon or grainy. Don't sleep on the mustard, y'all, because this is a sneaky little ingredient that supports your metabolism and digestion. And then plus you're going to get that zingy flavor, which is just a wake-up call to your palate. So the reason that we're using mustard, Dijon in this case, is that it's going to act as an emulsifier for the marinade that we're making. So it's going to bring together the oil and the vinegar and have them act like best friends. Now, I also read in one of my herbal books, I cannot remember, that mustard helps to stimulate circulation, and who doesn't need that as the weather is getting cooler and shorter. Next up, we're going to use some apple cider vinegar, and this is going to give your gut a little love. Now, you're going to want to get the one with the mother. Yeah, you'll see that label right on the jar, but you want all of this kind of stuff at the bottom because apple cider vinegar with the mother is going to bring all of the enzymes and improves digestion. And apple cider vinegar just gives any dish that perfect kind of tangy backbone that especially balances out the sweetness from the maple. Just a splash or 2 of this does the trick. All right, so next you're going to need some corn. I prefer corn on the cob, which is late summer's golden child. And corn is rich in something that helps protect your eyes from screen fatigue and UV rays. Yes, even in the fall. And it's just fun to eat. Now, yes, nothing in here should leak, and if it does, I'm not going to have a spill, in my fridge, but I like to still protect the meat from the veggies. So I'm just using this plastic bag here, and that's where I'll keep the corn. Next up, you're going to want a head or 2 of cabbage, which is crunchy, cheap, and endlessly beneficial. Cabbage is packed with vitamin K, C, supports your digestion, and actually gets sweeter as we move closer into the fall. I am telling you, it is a cold season champion. Next, you're going to want some cucumbers, which are just hydration in crunchy form. Seriously, they're like an edible water bottle, and they're also full of skin-supporting silica. Next up, you're just gonna need some mayo or sour cream for the slaw. And this is going to lend richness and tang to the slaw and just balance out like the crispy, watery crunch from the cabbage and the cucumber. So just go with what works for your taste and your fridge. Now, totally optional are your carbs. You can go with white or brown rice, a baked potato, or farro like I am. And each one of those grounding carbs brings a little something different to the table. So your white rice is gonna keep it quick and simple. Your potatoes are gonna bring potassium and that cozy comfort. And then farro is going to bring a little bit of that like chew and manganese. So I catch these bags, which are the 14 ounce on sale from time to time. So I have a bit of these. Now, farro, if you haven't tasted it, it does have a nutty like chew, right? Like you're going to be like chewing on this for a little bit. It's great tasting, but just different. And so now I can just go ahead and like cook this and put like whatever else as a bed like on top of the farro, kind of like how you cook it like with rice or potatoes. But here's what I did initially. And so when I was getting used to farro, because I did not grow up eating this, but what you can do is I would just mix it in different ratios with what we were already familiar with. So I would just mix like brown rice, like a larger quantity, maybe like 75 to 25%, and then like add a little farro, right? You notice it, but you're like, huh. And then sometimes I would mix like multiple different like, you know, rices together, like this and quinoa and whatever else. But anyways, that's just a little hack. Oh, and cooking in chicken broth. And just like that, bin 1 with your base and meal 1 is done. Okay, grab meal bin 2, and you're going to need either like tortillas or wraps, or whatever you want to use for an edible envelope. And remember, you can use whole grain for fiber or even low carb if that's your style. You're also going to need some cheese just to add a salty, creamy punch. And like, don't overthink this, just use what you have. So if I had feta, and I don't, but I normally keep like crumbled goat cheese or feta, but that would add like a Mediterranean flair. Like the goat cheese will be a good stand-in. I'll just probably toss in some dried herbs. And then you can go with like a classic like cheddar flavor. I've got a little bit of Colby jack cheese here left, so that's what I'm using. You're also gonna want some pickles, which are gonna bring that tangy and bright taste, which is going to cut through the richness and add crunch. Now I already had these in my pantry, but this is absolutely my reminder to go ahead and jumpstart my fermented pickles. So if you have those, oh, chef's kiss, they're gonna do well in this recipe. Okay, so you're also gonna need some type of dressing. It can be ranch, a creamy vinaigrette, or a yogurt-based sauce. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and make a quick yogurt-based sauce, but I just have these little containers, and right now, at the start of the week, I am going to siphon off what I am going to need, because I mean, yogurt is one of those ingredients in the house that it may be used, you know, by like my husband or like whatever else, but this ensures, this is all I need, right? But this ensures that when I go to cook later on in the week that I have what I need. Now, truly, all this is like your flavor glue. So go ahead and just use what you love. The yogurt is going to add probiotics, and ranch just brings nostalgia. Now, this is totally optional, but if you have a side of veggies, go ahead and toss these in too. This is just a portion that I picked up at the farmer's market that were out for seconds, just because they need to be eaten over the next couple of days. You know, that's fresh. And just like that, meal bin 2 is complete. Ready for bin 3? All right, so we've got meal bin 3, and one of the first meals that we're making is like a deconstructed burger casserole. You've just got to think about it like French toast meets meatloaf. But in our case, we're using chicken. But you could use beef. So I say all that to say you're going to need some type of bread, and preferably stale bread. So like if your family doesn't eat like the heels of the bread, that kind of thing, you should be saving them. And so I didn't have to buy any bread for this recipe, because one thing that I really enjoy doing, and your grocery stores may do this too, is that our grocery store will have like a little bakery rack, and the items on that rack, you either need to eat them like that day, or like you gotta put them in the oven or in the microwave because they are starting to like become a little stale. But most of the time they are marked down like 75% off, like, or more. And so I will from time to time go ahead and just grab like a ciabatta bread loaf, or like the hamburger buns, or like what the English muffins, like whatever it is, because I'm not paying more than like $1 or $2, and I will use them for Like I'm using this type of casserole, but you can easily see like, oh, like I can snag this and do it to like a number of other dishes. So in here, I just come home, and since I'm not eating that bread right away, I will just put it in a freezer bag and stick it in the freezer. So I actually have a combination of breads in here. I have one or two, maybe one English muffin is in here ish. I have some French bread in here. I have some garlic toast in here. I have one of the pretzel burgers in here. And actually, it's even better if you get a little mix, like intentionally. And so, yeah, again, if you just want to go out and buy like your, buns, that's fine. Or whatever kind of bread you want, it's fine because you're actually just going to like rip it up. But yeah, so you're going to need some bread. You're also going to need some bell peppers, and remember that these things are sweet and they are loaded with vitamin C, even more than oranges. So these are going to be adding a pop of color and crunch. You'll also need an onion or two to add that rich umami flavor. And then some cheese. These are some blocks that I have, and I'll just use my shredder to shred them. Now you're also going to need some breadcrumbs. They can be plain or flavored, and this is actually it's like a breadless alternative. These are like pork rind breadcrumbs. I also have some that are made from like pea protein, and all of them have been pretty great alternatives. But again, when I get home after work, it's so nice. Sometimes even this stuff cannot be real. Sometimes even this stuff is like too much, right? And so I really do love knowing that I just sit the bin on the counter and it's already there, right? Decision fatigue, y'all. It's real. So, all right. You're also going to need an egg or two, which is going to act as a binder and a protein booster. So just think of this as like glue with benefits. Now I want you to pause for a second and let this soak in. How quickly did all this come together? A lot of the ingredients that we're using in our original bin 1 and 2 are going to continue to feed us all week long. And think about this, you just took dinner stress off your plate for the entire week. And here's the thing, you'll likely use this sequence more than once. You have proof right in front of you that you have taken dinner stress completely off of your plate. And you're not just going to use this meal sequence for this particular week, but you might even roll into it again on the second week of the month just by, again, switching up a few ingredients or doing this meal sequence, pair it with another one, and then revisit this one. Now, if you think that was fast, let me show you how effortlessly our base recipe comes together. All right, y'all, so it is the next day. So let's go ahead and knock out our base recipe and meal 1. Now you are gonna have to let me know if your kitchen starter, oops, maybe you can't hear me, but if your kitchen starter ritual also starts with a sink full of hot soapy water. And I just like doing this because it makes cleanup easier and it sets the tone like, okay, we're getting stuff done today. Plus, I am not one of those cooks that waits to the end to do all of the cleanup because that is just such a defeating feeling and exhausting. And so I like to build in checkpoints as I cook to say, hey, okay, let me go ahead and do a mini clean here just so that it's not overwhelming. Now go ahead and grab meal bin 1. Cut your oven on to 400 degrees. So now you're just gonna grab whatever you're using to bake your chicken on. So when I use this pan, I just like to line it with my silicone baking sheets. They make cleanup easy and they're reusable. I have had this one for years. Now 8 leg quarters are not fitting on that single pan, and that's okay because I'm just going to mix match it with my large cast iron. So we're gonna start by laying our chicken skin side up. And you just wanna do this in a single layer, either on your pan or a baking dish. And you do wanna go ahead and tuck them in snugly, but don't overcrowd. Now, another reason that I love this dish and cooking with leg quarters is that the skin is going to crisp up beautifully. And we don't even need to cover this dish. So, I mean, it goes into the pan just like this. Okay, good. I can fit 6. Sometimes the leg quarters are, a little bit bigger or smaller. Okay, that's perfect. So I just have 2 more in here, so I don't need my big old pan. Yeah, this one makes more sense. Okay. Okay, y'all, so you see these bags? Now, technically, they are marketed as single use, but around here, marketing is not gospel. So you best believe that I'm going to put these into my pan of hot soapy water, wash them out, rinse them, let them air dry, and then I'm going to put them back in rotation with raw meat again. And the easy way that I keep track of that is that, like, I will get the bags that have like certain colors on them, like when I do get them. So like this is pink, so I know that this is like pink raw meat in my mind. And again, this is only raw meat, so I wouldn't use this same bag for produce. And even crazier yet, I'm just clipping this to my hand soap dispenser so that as it dries, it just drips into the sink. And I like doing this because, one, I am not putting my plastic bags through the ringer, right? Like they're holding things like stalks or marinated meat or veggie scraps. And so the structure actually holds up beautiful 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 different times. And then they can hit the landfill. And if somebody's side-eyeing me like, ugh, that's gross. You wash your dishes, don't you? It's the same principle. Plus, I want you to run this exercise for me. So the next time you are in, the trash bag or the bag aisle, those prices are insane. I remember seeing like Ziploc bags where now you're only getting, each year they just keep reducing the sizes, or the quantities that you get. And there's like only 13 bags for like nearly $4. You're paying like 50 cents a bag. And look, all I can do is tell you is that my kitchen is resourceful and a little bit rebellious in all the right ways. Okay, so now you need a bowl so we can make this marinade. Go ahead and grab your pot of whatever so that you can go ahead and start to prep your starch. I'm using the Farro, remember, but you might be using rice or potatoes. Okay, so let's go ahead and make the marinade, and we're gonna start off with a little bit of maple syrup. And then you're gonna add a few squeezes of Dijon. And already we have that savory depth of sweetness with a little bit of tang. And then we're gonna hit things with just a capful or 2 of the apple cider vinegar to give it a little bit of that complimentary tang. You really don't taste it, but if you don't add it, you miss it. And then we're gonna add a bit of olive oil, so about half the amount of the maple syrup that you used. Next up, some ground garlic, because you just can't not have garlic in here. And y'all know I love garlic, so like, this is fine. It's fine. Give this a good old whisk. And then at this point, y'all, to know that it's right, you just have to take a taste test. And so what I normally do is just take a little spoon, right? This is just a single-use spoon. Wow. Oh my goodness. That maple syrup is singing paired with the Dijon. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is so good. But hey, sometimes, like my husband and I have very similar palates and also not. And so what I will do is like take whatever I'm making before it's like fully done, and I'll just bring him a little sample taste. So let's go. He's in his office. So let me go downstairs now and see what he thinks. All right, I'll just put a little bit in here for him. Okay, babe, so this is a marinade for some baked chicken that I'm gonna make. Let me know your thoughts. Do I need to add anything? Just like lick the spoon.
Wow.
It's good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, thank you. See, that is all it takes. And because I know he likes that, what I wanna do is, I left this drawer open here. Oh, here are my scissors. That's gonna be really good with some rosemary. And so I'm gonna go out to the garden and grab some, maybe some thyme. So this is my green stalk herbal planter. She is exploding with herbs. And so, yeah, I have parsley right here that is still doing really well. And I've got rosemary here and a couple other pockets too. Okay, so I've got my rosemary. I had already mowed down some of my thyme, so I'm gonna hold off on that. And you can incorporate it like into, you know, your marinade, or you can just do what I'm doing, which is just to tuck it around to give off like rosemary essence to the chicken without actually having, you know, like the fresh bits in there. And now we just pour this marinade on top. And then you want to use like a little brush like this just to make sure it really gets in the skin. And friend, here's what I'm gonna tell you. So if you don't have enough, like, you know how drenched you want this to be. And so this marinade, you saw, it comes together so quickly that you're not even bothered if you're like, oh, I want some more of this sauce, which is what I think I'm gonna do. Because look, this marinade is so good. It is so good. You don't need a lot, but if you're extra like we are, and we love our sauces and marinades and glazes, then yeah, like, you're gonna wanna have some of this on reserve. Okay, so now you're just gonna pop this in the oven for about 50 minutes. So here's the part where I like to get my magnetic kitchen timer, and I'll link this. I've had this for years, but I just like that it has like a little kickstand, so you can like set it, you know, on the counter, or not lose it in a drawer, who knows where else, by like putting it on your fridge. And the numbers, they're just big, so that, you know, sometimes I leave my kitchen and I can just like look, you know, and see. And I just like having a separate timer from my phone, because sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I think I set a timer, it's not set. And then if I have something in the oven, I don't think this oven really does more than one thing. So it's either telling me that I'm baking, but the timer on that's kind of iffy. So, all right, I have set our timer. I will link this. I'll try to. I'm horrible at affiliate links. Y'all know that. It's just any timer, y'all. Any timer. All right, mama. So here's where you have a choice. If you just want to make the base recipe and walk away, you can absolutely do that. But you know me. When I am in my kitchen, I am trying to be as dangerous as possible. This is in the oven. I do not have a sink full of dishes, and so I'm going to roll this right into meal one. And so we already have that pot of water on the stove. And for the Pharaoh that I am using, I just need to run this under some cold water to rinse it off. So I'm going to do that. And yes, you just saw me put this bag in my meal bin because I'm crazy, y'all. But I think you know this by now. So this has a nice little like a Ziploc bag, okay? And so, you know, I save my veggie scraps, and I'm about to have some from like the cabbage and the cucumbers that we have coming up. And I don't need to use one of my personal bags for that. I don't, you know what I mean? And so absolutely, this is going to be the bag that I use. Okay, y'all, so welcome to the freezer. I need to sort her out just a little bit, but we're not doing too bad in here. Do you see all of this clearance meat that I have in here? Y'all, so this is from a store called Giant, I think. Yeah, but look, 100% grass-fed. This is per pound, $3.49. The original price was $7. 50% off. And so I have a lot of these in the downstairs basement. I think I grabbed like 7 of them. And I have 2 up here. And then I know these are a little, the ingredients in here like aren't like bad at all, but these would normally, like, I would not be buying this, but I will buy this stuff. This was $4.49, no antibiotics, whatever else, like a quick little meal. Anyways, I did not come in this freezer to tell you that. I came in here to just grab the bacon, which also has a red tag. Y'all know I love my red tags. And so this is uncured bacon here. Since I already have my oven on, I'm gonna cook this pack of bacon because it does not make sense anytime I like have this on to just have like one thing going, especially if I know that I can be setting myself up for success for something else, right? Like I said, like, be as dangerous as possible. And you know, when I say stuff like this, like, oh, it doesn't make sense for me just to have one thing going on in the oven, I've got to tell you this. I no longer know Well, now it was me. I don't know if that is me or my grandmother speaking, because like they would both say stuff like that. And so to me, it's like, it's just what you do. So here we go. All right, so I'm just gonna thaw that out a bit for like 2 minutes. Okay, let's get the pot for the corn. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and get our slaw rolling. And this is not one of those watery, flavorous afterthought slaws. Nope, this is one that holds her weight at the dinner table. It's crunchy, it is creamy, it is bright and balanced. Don't toss that core, save it for your stock. And that beat was the bacon. So let's get this out. All right, and let's go ahead and spread out our bacon in the pan. All right, and this is going in the oven too. All right, back to the cabbage. I mean, that only took like a minute or two, but we're gonna slice this up and then I'm gonna add it to my bowl here. Okay, so we're gonna add this to the bowl. And now we're gonna go ahead and just toss in our ears of corn. Now you can eat corn both raw and cooked. And I think, well, what this is doing in this dish, this is totally optional. It's just adding a bit of a starch to your meal. Plus, again, summer corn. Corn is one of my favorite vegetables, so it's like, how can I not? So we're just gonna go ahead and boil this up. So now it's time to slice up our cucumbers, and you wanna slice these as thin as you can kind of get them by hand. Don't overthink it, but ideally you might want to use a mandolin. For me, it's not that serious right now, but we are just going to go ahead and slice these up, and then we're going to we're going to put them in this bowl and hit them with a little bit of salt just to draw out the water, since these are very high in water content. And yeah, like it's a step that you don't want to skip because you don't want to make your coleslaw, you know, soggy. Okay, so since this is how much cabbage I'm using, I actually have some leftover cucumbers. And this is fine because if you have extra of anything, I'm going to keep showing you ways that no, it's like you really don't. You can keep adding it to all of these recipes and it's not weird. So, all right, let's go ahead and put these in a bowl, hit them with a little bit of salt. Okay, and then we're just gonna let these sit for a few minutes so that water can just draw out. It'll pull at the bottom. Now you're gonna go ahead and add a little bit of mayo or sour cream. I think the best combination is a little bit of both. So like if you're doing a half cup of mayonnaise, you would use a little less, like a 1/4 cup of sour cream. But either way, it's going to be fine because mayo is adding richness and tang, but the sour cream just, it just lightens it up a bit. It keeps the slaw from sometimes feeling a bit too heavy, so you don't feel like you're eating, you know, like a spoonful of dressing. But I do always keep some cream cheese on hand. I have one or the other, or like everything in my refrigerator. I'm not always worried about being like 100% stocked on stuff because I cook with substitutions, as everybody should, right? And so I'm just gonna add, but some people like this taste. If you like a denser, like I said, that rich, really rich slaw, you're gonna be fine with just mayo. But I'm just gonna add a dollop of sour cream. Now y'all know my dad's from Louisiana, so in the same way that he can never eat his collard greens without a sprinkling of sugar, you've got to do the same thing to your pot of boiling water for the corn. Or two. Okay y'all, so I have reached the end of the mayo, and I'm just going to go ahead and reuse this jar because why not? And like for what I'm about to do, and then also I will probably just hang on to this jar. And so if you are using, if you have mayonnaise like me, but then you don't have sour cream, but maybe you have cream cheese, you do need to thin this out a bit. So I'm going to take about this much cream cheese because you're using a lesser quantity of that than the mayo. And you just really want to make sure that you thin this out a bit. And you can use a variety of things to thin this out with. You can use milk, or water or apple cider vinegar, just like a little splash, which is what I'm going to do. But you already want it, it's like that much in there. You already want it to be thinned out before you add it to your coleslaw. Ask me how I know. Oh my goodness, okay, the chicken's ready. Yeah, so now I can easily, after I popped it in the microwave, just stir it around. All right, and now we'll go ahead and add this to our slaw. Want to give this a really good stir like you mean it. All right, y'all, the cucumbers are ready, so I'm just gonna go ahead and toss them into this bag that I'm already putting in the wash since I've used it. And I'm just gonna wring them out over the sink, but if you had a colander, that's what you use too. All right, we're gonna add our cucumbers to the slaw. And then you're gonna add just a little bit of honey or sugar. And this is just like a little pinch to balance out the vinegar. And then I'm also gonna do, again, a little sampling of black pepper, salt. Then we're gonna go ahead and stir this together. Now, I do wanna say this. I make coleslaw a variety of ways, and this is, I understand, not a traditional coleslaw, but it's one that is using seasonal ingredients. It's a way to add extra, veggies to our meal. And I like keeping my family on their toes in terms of thinking like what a particular dish should always be or should always taste like, because eventually you've got to break your family a little bit away from that so that you can freestyle a bit more. Now, normally I would add carrots to this, but I don't have carrots on hand right now, even though I normally do. I actually used the last of them last week and just didn't grab any this week. And then here's the thing, you're gonna want to let this sit for at least 15 minutes before serving. And then that is gonna give the cabbage a chance to soften just slightly and then soak in all of these really creamy textures. Y'all, everything is done and smelling good. We even have our corn here that is cooling off and our farro over there. But I wanted to do a battle station check. And I love doing this because as you follow this system, your kitchen is not going to be crazy. So here is the meal prep bin that we're using. I just have my Dijon mustard in there, my little scrap bag, and then the cucumbers I didn't use. I have the sauce still out because we're getting ready to use that. I have my light staining on some cashew butter, just, so you can see everything. The bags are still here. And then look, this is what the sink looks like. This is not crazy. You'll probably have even fewer dishes than this. We have the colander. I have this jar because I wanted to save it. What else? Yeah, our whisk here, my tasting spoons. Yeah, the little glass I used. And then I use those shot glasses for like my tinctures and stuff like that, just to clarify. And then, yeah, my knife. That's it. That is it. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Okay, y'all, since the corn is ready, I took out a few ears and I just put them in the refrigerator. I just put them in the refrigerator to cool because I'm gonna add this corn to the coleslaw. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add some of this fresh corn to the coleslaw. Not only is it adding the contrast in colors, but you're gonna get just these like sweet bursts of fresh corn kernels, which is just, it cannot be beat. And yes, I am saving those cobs to make my corn cob stock. Okay, let's go ahead and stir this together. Oh yeah, there we go. Now this is looking like a really good corn and cabbage slaw. There we go. So we're gonna have this savory slaw. It looks simple, but I'm telling you, it pairs wonderfully with this chicken that we're about to eat. And then, this is my husband's plate, y'all, so I'm gonna go ahead And just immediately start with the serving size of 2 for him. All right, y'all. So remember that we set aside some of our marinade. And this just gives it, I mean, this skin is crisp. It is juicy. It is tender. It is delicious. It is so flavorful. But this is just going to go ahead and kind of rehydrate things just a bit, or just give you that that extra goodness of this sauce, because it is truly just that decadent. And so, oh my goodness. Yeah, y'all. So here we go. This was dinner. This is dinner for tonight. Look at what you just made from scratch. Okay, y'all. So let me go ahead and do a taste test from my plate before Trey and I go ahead and eat this together. Oh my goodness. All right. So I am going to go ahead and leave some skin on there. And then I'm taking my fork with the chicken on here and then finding the extra sauce. Oh my goodness, y'all. So here's what we're looking at. Again, your chicken thighs are going to be so juicy and tender. They're so much easier to work with than fresh chicken breast. And so, rosemary gives off this essence, and so by laying my chicken quarters, my leg quarters on top of them, perfect move. And then again, you have this sauce that is it's just so comforting. It's the flavor that you want in the fall. It's sweet, but not sugar sweet. It's the sophisticated sweetness. And then you have that Dijon that's coming in there. Which, if you didn't know it was Dijon, or you don't even like Dijon as a mustard, you need it in this recipe and you won't even be bothered by it. It's just, it just adds that savory kind of component to it. This is not a salty chicken. It's savory. It is sweet without being overly sweet. This tastes like a dish that likely took you longer to make than what it does. Oh, it's so good. So you have a bite of that. Then we move to the slaw. And we have the nails you hear walking into the kitchen is Thor. Like I told you, he just seems to know automatically when the food is done. This brother was just on the couch, okay? I love coleslaw. But I also like that, again, this is simple, but it's so hydrating. This dish isn't weighing you down. There are some meals that I make and they are so rich that it's oh my goodness, that's the end of the night. This one is filling and also very energizing. And the addition of the fresh corn, wonderful. The cucumbers are adding extra crunch, but you really don't taste them. This is so good. If this is our first time meeting, hi, I'm Cassandra from the blog becomingafarmgirl.com, and I'm here to help you live a farm fresh life without land or livestock. And if you're thinking that this kind of meal plan would be a game changer for your week, you can grab recipes that are scaled for families of 2, 4, 6, or 8. And when I tell you that this is simple and customizable, that's exactly what it is. You're going to get your grocery guide, your 5-meal sequence, and your recipe cards done for you the entire week. You can use the QR code that's on the screen, click the link that's below this video or in the description box, or head to dinnersdonedispatch.com. All right, y'all, we finished eating, and let me tell you, that meal was good and dangerous. So now what we're gonna go ahead and do is, this is our cooked farro. It has completely cooled. Now, to me, it kind of reminds me of oat groats, but we're gonna need this for tomorrow's recipe. And so I'm just going to already have this cooked and ready to go. So you can put it in bags. I'm just putting this into a canning jar since I have so many of these on hand. Go ahead and put that back in meal bin 1. And now I've got a combination of bags here because we need to go ahead and debone the rest of this chicken. And so now with clean hands, you're just going to debone the chicken and put it in your bags. And yes, I am saving the skin, absolutely. And now these bones are gonna go in this bag for when I make my stock, which is already gonna be so flavorful because I have the rosemary essence that's already baked in. Now all that's left is the fat, which I'm gonna put in this bag. Okay, so we are gonna go ahead and pick out our whole rosemary stems. Okay, friends, so I know that this might look like scraps or something you would toss, but this right here is actually flavor gold. So after baking the maple Dijon leg quarters, I am absolutely saving these pan drippings. What this is concentrated flavor and fat and caramelized goodness. You already know how I feel about my silicone mold trays, so I am just going to, I really might only have enough for 3, but even still, like, it is worth it to save this. So we're gonna go ahead and fill this up. Okay, so all I'm gonna do is just freeze these because they are absolutely flavor bombs and they are perfect for adding depth to things like soups and gravies or rice or even a creamy sauce like later on. And what I also want you to remember is that this is collagen, which, yes, collagen, right? Which is something that I'm not going to say we're duped into buying, but like this stuff too, that you buy. And yes, I do buy collagen from time to time, but here's the thing about my supplements, because I really I can't buy all the supplements all the time. It's not affordable, okay? But when it's on sale, like this particular brand that I'm using now, so I can link it, but it's not even like that. I will rotate, whatever Mom's Organic Market kind of has on sale. And really, I only need to buy that a couple of times a year because it is more affordable and just easier to cook in this way than to, do all that stuff. But so I say all that because I think sometimes it's like, well, why are you doing that? And I'm like, why aren't you doing that? Forgive me, I'm in such a silly mood. But it's kind of like, why wouldn't you do this, right? Because you already have like all of these roasted aromatics that are in here. And so there's no waste, all flavor. So I'm gonna go ahead and slide this into the freezer. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what to do with these skins tomorrow night. And then here is our base recipe chicken, which we're going to continue to stretch this. So please know that you have enough no matter what is left over. And I'm just gonna go ahead and pour some of this marinade off in here. Oh yeah. So this meat goes back in the bin. I'm gonna put this in the fridge, and then these bones are gonna go in the freezer. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and get back to this pan of bacon, which I am just gonna go ahead and cut all of this up because this is going to serve as a quick little grab and go breakfast for this week. So this is my normal. I most of the time am going to be eating a version of oatmeal, but then I also like to plan maybe just for 1 or 2 nights or 1 or 2 mornings during the work week, something where it's like, if I am really kind of like, if it's just a tough morning, y'all, right? Or if I intentionally am planning to kind of sleep in, which I do about 1 or 2 nights. Why do I keep wanting to say nights? 1 or 2 mornings throughout the work week. And it's pretty much where it's like, hey, I've taken my shower the night before. My clothes are already laid out. I just want to get up, like grab my coffee, something to eat, and get out of the house. Like, this is it. And so, yeah. And I don't like overnight oats. I love oatmeal in all its forms. Baked, fried, stovetop. But I can't get down with the overnight oats. Okay, so we have our chopped bacon. That's there. And now we're going to take our corn that we have. And we're gonna go ahead and add this to the pan. Oh my goodness, this sweet corn, y'all. Oh, so delicious right now. All right, so to make this breakfast cornbread recipe, I actually just make a big old like jar full of cornbread, and I keep that mix, you know, up on my little my top shelves there. But then for recipes where it's just like Trey and I just then bag it like this, and I think these are like, I forget how big these bags are, but you know, I just always kind of like use this size, and I keep reusing these bags. But it is just my own like cornmeal and baking powder and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and use 2 of these. And yes, you could make muffins, but I am not gonna like dirty up another pan, and so I'm just gonna make it all in here. And then next I'm going to add my eggs. All right, and I'm gonna pour in some milk. And then I'm gonna add just a few tablespoons of ground flax. 1 and 2. And flax is high in omega-3s, fatty acids, helps protect against certain type of cancers, reduces blood sugar, helps to lower your cholesterol. And so, yeah, we're gonna stir some of that in. And the taste is gonna be hidden mostly, right? Like it's not gonna stick out. So if it doesn't stick out, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and fold this in, which is a similar reason why I wanna go ahead and add, okay, here they are. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just add in some chia seeds too. And so you're not gonna be able to taste them because the bacon is already gonna give you like a little bit of that crunch that's there, but these are more omega-3s and fiber. And so, yeah, instead of, again, making stuff like smoothies, y'all, like we're just gonna go ahead and mix in your little supplements that you have on hand with stuff like this. And then to further cement that breakfasty vibe, I'm gonna add just a little bit of cheese. And that's gonna add a nice little touch to this. So yeah, I'm gonna stir this cheese and I am going to smooth it out and place it in the oven. I mean, again, it was so easy, and I'm already in the kitchen. I don't feel overwhelmed by dishes. I'm not stressed out about what's coming up for dinner for the rest of the week. And so it's like, hey, I can go ahead and keep stacking wins like this. So let's go ahead and put this in the oven. All right, let's take this cornbread out of the oven. And while it's still warm to the touch, I'm gonna go ahead and spread it with some butter. Oh yeah, do you see all those bacon chunks? Now y'all know what cornbread tastes like, and you've seen me make it plenty of times, but I'll be polite and go ahead and give it a taste test. Oh, hold on. Let me move you in closer as I cut through this, y'all. It is thick and dense. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes. Look at those crumbs. That's what you want. Okay. I'm going to take like a very small corner here. Oh yeah. Oh, that looks so good. Whew, okay. I probably should have let this cool just a little bit longer, but I don't mind. Okay. Y'all, this cornbread is so savory. And then you have the cheese in there. I use just enough where you're like, oh, something else is in here. Then you have a bacon essence, like, oh, this is so good. And then you're still getting all of the aromatics from the chicken, y'all. Like, this cornbread is eating like a full-on meal. Like, I'm gonna be sad after I finish the last bite. Perfect with coffee. Do I taste the ground flax? No. Do I taste the chia seeds? No. I mean, if you look, is my camera good enough where you can see it? Yeah, you see those little like specks. That's the chia. I don't know what's there. So I hope you can see that every step in this process has a purpose. First, we prepped a base that's going to multiply. We also chose ingredients that support your body as the seasons change. And we completely eliminated the what's for dinner brain fog. We even got a bonus breakfast, bouillon, bone broth starter, and chicken fat to render. I just like to open up this door to get some more light in my kitchen. But all right, y'all, let's go ahead and get this dinner party started. And I don't know about you. Well, yes, I do because you're here. But I love it when today's dinner is technically yesterday's effort. That's right. The work that you did yesterday is going to set you up to make the next 3 meals in minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and make all 3 of those meals right now because I'm not stepping foot back into the kitchen until Friday. And it's Tuesday right now. Listen, ensuring that your family eats every night doesn't mean that you have to cook every night. I mean, there's just no facade around here. So go ahead and grab meal bins 2 and 3. Sorry, I just heard myself. Meal bin 1 and 2. Now go ahead and cut your oven on to about 375 and turn on 1 burner. And for meal bin 1, you're going to need your coleslaw, and I just put it in these 2 containers, and your chicken. All right, y'all, so we are making autumn chicken wraps, and you can either serve these hot or cold, and all this is assembly. So if you're serving this cold, it might look something like, here's your tortilla. This could also be flatbread. And then you're just gonna take some of the slaw from yesterday. So this is gonna hydrate things and add that crunch that you want. Use whatever combination of cheese you have on hand. Top it with some chicken. You may wanna go ahead and hit it with a little bit more Dijon or whatever, condiments that you already have in your fridge that you like. And then we're just gonna go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. Ta-da! But if you want yours warm, grab a pan, toss in some butter. Okay, I'm coming back to our wrap, and I'm just going to cut it here. And if you have kids, like you want to cut it too, for them. This wrap is delicious, right? It is pure chicken that has amazing flavor. It is tender. There's that crunch that's there. And then September is like, well, I mean, it kind of depends each year, but like the weather is kind of starting to change. And so if you need like a cooler type of dinner because it's still super hot, you're going to want to have this. Now, in full transparency, I am going to eat the meal that comes, or I'm going to make these hot. I would do this either way. However, again, I love this sequence this time of year because, y'all, I've already made my lunch. Again, my work days at the beginning of the school year, they're just longer. They're just longer. So I do not have time to be Betty Crocker. And so y'all have seen me with this. I love these bento boxes. I have had this one. It has to be for close to a decade now. So good. I just had to replace the clamps one time. But excellent buy. It's dishwasher safe. It doesn't retain any like smells or stains. So good. I mean, you just can't put like liquids in it. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead. Boom. Look, I just went ahead and took care of lunch. I'm going to pair this with a piece of fruit. It's going to keep, just like that with a piece of fruit. Toss in some nuts. Done. Right? And so I'm going to put this in the microwave, this in the fridge. Oh, goodness. Sorry. So that all I have to do in the morning is just grab and go everything. Okay, let's make our warm ones. I'm telling you, just opening up this chicken bag is intoxicating. All right, so right before they're finished, I like to go ahead and add my dressing. And I'll flip this over. Grab your plate. And honey, just like that, you have the warm version, which again is delicious. So I am probably going to take a little bit of barbecue sauce and then mix that with some of the mayo. Just so my husband has like a little extra dipping sauce, but this is not dry at all. Again, the flavors are already just like amazing. You can also toss in like apple for this, like if you dice it up. I've done that before and that's really good. But this is fantastic, right? Dinner is coming together in minutes. So let me go ahead and get the rest of these made and I'll be right back. Oh, I almost forgot to remind you that you're gonna wanna serve those with some pickles. I just feel that the tang really just complements it. Like I said, it's like a deli dinner. It's really good. So yeah, serve with pickles. All right, I'm back. And let me show you what we're gonna have tomorrow night for dinner. So go ahead and grab a bowl. And all you're doing for this is assembly. So you're gonna grab the starch that we made when we were doing our base recipe. And it's kind of like one of those, it's like a Mediterranean bowl, y'all. That's all it is. And so just by sometimes switching up an element or two, you're going to have a completely new taste. And let me tell you, these are meals, because of the high fiber and protein that's in here, that is going to fill you up completely. So I'm just making a little bed of my farro. And then to that, yeah, you're going to go ahead and then add your diced chicken. Now remember that I still had some cucumber, so I'm just going to go ahead and I want to use these. So I'll add a few chunks in there. Okay, we'll add it beside the white. That looks nice. And yes, now we're going to add our slaw. Ooh, yeah. And y'all, I cannot tell you how amazing this sweet corn is tasting. Oh, it's so good. It is so, so good. I know, this is looking good already. But one thing I'm going to add, since I already have them on hand, and this is truly where you make these recipes like your own. It's not rigid. And I like this because, you know, there likely are other things that you kind of have in your house, right? I'm assuming that you have some other ingredients that you're like, oh man, like I could toss this in here or do that or this. And so adding nuts to this is just something, I like nuts in most of my salads. Or seeds. And so I've just added some pumpkin seeds. Oh, and then you are going to want to grab your bit of yogurt that we set aside, because we are going to make a very quick kind of creamy yogurt herb sauce, which is going to complement our maple honey mustard marinade, but really just kind of just bring something a little fresh and different. And this comes together super fast. You're just gonna take your yogurt and either fresh or bottled lemon juice and squeeze about the juice of a lemon and a half in there. Add some dill to your desire. I really desire dill. No, dill is just like a yogurt and dill sauce is just, yeah, you got to start there. But that's not going to be the only herb that we're using. So I also have a little bit of fresh parsley that I'm going to use, and I have cilantro. I might even actually go out to the garden and get some green onions in here. Fresh or dried is fine. But if you are using fresh, go ahead and add the stems as well. They add great texture and they taste the same as the rest of the herbs, so don't toss them. Next, you're gonna add some fresh or minced garlic. And this is just to your taste. We love garlic around here. And then we're gonna do just a little bit of onion powder, pepper, and salt. All right, and we're just gonna go ahead and mix this up. Ta-da! Look at this beautiful dill dip that you just created that cost you pennies, right? It's just dressed up Greek yogurt, y'all. Okay, so then you're just going to dollop a bit of this. Let me bring you in close. Onto your salad bowl. Maybe a little bit more. And this is what you're having for dinner on the third night. I might go ahead and even add like some smoked paprika to this. All right, now I'm stuffed, but I am gonna go ahead and take a taste test like I normally do, because the rest of this is just gonna go in my thermos for my lunch for Thursday, because I'm just using it as a container because like I'm gonna eat this cold. And it's still really good. And so let me make sure I got a little bit of everything here on this fork. I think I do. Okay, so first up, y'all, a salad, a good salad. This is what I call a salad, okay? Not these side salads that, you know, you can get, you know, for lunch that I see like my coworkers ordering. And when they do order a salad that looks anything that's just like hearty and robust and healthy like this, they're dropping almost $20. Actually, I think it is $20 on a salad. Ugh. I mean, that is not so affordable. That's what blows your food budget each month. Anyways. Now this is a salad. This is a bowl. Because the farro is really mild in here. It's going to soak up pretty much, like, it plays nicely with other flavors. But you've got that nice kind of like softer chew that's blending those carbs that are there. But it's going to be a slow burning fuel. Then you have, again, the chicken, which is super tender. You have the creaminess from the sauce, the crunch from the coleslaw, the crunch from the popcorn kernels, pumpkin. And then like the savory specks from the cheese. Like, this is everything. This is everything, y'all. Oh, you're gonna love this one. Y'all, I knew these meals are coming together quick, but I forgot to even put on my apron. Okay. See, those meals are super easy, so now we're going to go ahead and roll into the fourth one. But just as a reminder, so you're going to need to grab meal bin 3. So you can absolutely cook these like in any order that you want, but this just makes sense for me. And I like that, you know, because I really do have to kind of think about, all right, like what's going on this week, you know, at work, or what, like, you know, family commitments do I have, or what other like things am I trying to do? Am I trying to like to can heavy? Is like, you know, is the garden still kind of like keeping me busy, or like whatever it is. And so like things react, right? Like your kitchen responds to like your job, responds to like where you are at whatever stage of life. And so anyways, okay. So this meal is going to start with a pan. I'm going to go ahead. Yes, ma'am. You already know. I'm going to use this skillet. It's already been buttered, right? It's ready to go. And so you're going to want to go ahead and grab your bag of stale bread or buns or whatever like bread you're using, okay? Like, don't overthink it. So you're just going to take your bread, and remember that you want something that already has like structure to it, which is why I like day old, you know, even more than a day, you know, but old bread, the crusty hills of a loaf, you know, even leftover like burger buns, this is, I think, like a pretzel bun, is perfect. And because what's going to happen is that you're just going to tear these into bite-sized chunks. I've got like some Texas toast bread. Some of this bread, when I do a stale bread bag like this, I will intentionally try to mix up the flavors. If I can. You're just creating like a little stuffing. And if your bread is extremely hard, that's okay. You can just splash it with like some milk or broth, or even some beaten eggs. And when you do that, it's just going to give you like that soft kind of custardy base. Kind of think like a savory bread pudding meets cheeseburger night. But you can do this with ground beef too, y'all. So this is something that I think I said this earlier. I just like doing this because this is so flexible. Look, we have some of this French bread that's going in here, an English muffin. It all works, y'all. It all works. And like, you don't actually want to chop this too fine. or like rip it too fine, right? Like you want enough so that like when you stick your fork in, bam, like you know you got some bread on it. Okay, so now you're gonna go ahead and grab your chicken base, and we're just gonna go ahead and layer that over top. So this is gonna be our protein. It's also infusing some flavor. So just kind of like spread it across. It doesn't have to be like completely filled in. That's not what we're going for because we're still adding some stuff to this. So yeah, oops, let me break this down a little bit more. Okay, so now it's time to chop up our onion and stay on there. And our bell peppers. Okay, so let's go ahead and toss in our bell pepper and our onion, which is any burger's friend. And here's the thing. Yes, I could have absolutely sauteed them for a few minutes if you just want to like take off a little bit of the bite. But you can also just do what I'm doing, which is to toss them in raw if you're short on time, because these are absolutely going to shorten in the oven. And so I didn't need to take that extra step. Oh, yeah. Okay, and these are just a smidgen of herbs that I had left over from what we just chopped up. So I'm going to toss those in there too. All right, so this is your opportunity just to infuse a little bit of a flavor swirl. And you've got some options here. You can either add some more Dijon mustard. You can do like a drizzle of ketchup. But I'm going to go ahead and use up some of this rhubarb barbecue sauce. And so that is going to hit the spot here. I mean, you can pick one or mix and match. Like I said, just think like flavor swirl. And this is how we just give things a little sass. Like if this isn't enough right here, I may have to mix and match it, which is fine. I do that all the time. All right, so yeah. You're just gonna go ahead and just lightly kind of coat it up. Make sure everything is kind of hit just a bit. All right, so now we're gonna add our cheese. And I also had this little bit too. I'm just gonna go ahead and just use my hands. Okay, y'all, so I just came back from the garden because I have green onion. It just grows like crazy. I plant it every spring. I'll get a couple of packages for, what are they? Maybe like $1.29. And then they're just cut and come again, right? And so, yeah. I was like, okay, yep, this scene right here definitely needs some green onion. Oh my word, will you just look at all this cheesy goodness? That is exactly what you want. Now you can absolutely use shredded cheese, but the value, you get more for your money if you buy the block cheese and then just shred it yourself, which is what I tend to do. If I catch the other stuff on sale, for sure, you know, I'll get it, but most of the time it's block cheese. Okay, and now, don't look at me strange on this one. You just gotta trust me. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna chop up some of these pickles and then we're gonna sprinkle them on the top. I mean, unless you don't like pickles at all, don't add them. There's something about like the salty and brininess from the pickles cuts through the richness of this dish, because it certainly is. And it reminds your brain like, oh, this is like chicken cheeseburger kind of vibes. So now you're just gonna bake this uncovered for about 25 to 30 minutes. So I'm just gonna set my timer. All right, friends, you ready for this? Now with this dish, you are gonna let it sit a few just before diving in. I mean, you really wanna treat this like a lasagna. It just sets up better and it serves even prettier when you wait. Now I also wanna mention that this is a perfect freezer meal. You can freeze it before or after. And so that is exactly what I'm doing with these little casserole baking dishes. Oh yeah. Now if you've got picky eaters, you can just call this cheeseburger pie or chicken pie and they'll never know it was leftovers. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I know it didn't plate up the best because this is real life, not food staging. But honey, the flavor is here. All right, let's go ahead and take a taste test. Oh yeah, look at this. I mean, you got the cheesy goodness. You've got the bread that's in there, the onions, the pepper. the chicken. Yeah. This gives off like deconstructed cheeseburger. Chicken, a burger. It's so good. I would highly recommend going with the barbecue sauce that you already love, because that flavor is obviously shining through. And like, that's what makes this taste completely different than like the meal before versus, the meal before. Oh, this is so good. And I'm telling you, the pickles, they work because there's just like little, like bright little bursts. This is so good, y'all. It's such a cozy comfort dish. You know you want some of this right now. You know you do. Look, I wish I could share it with you. Now, I love this kind of dish because not only is it resourceful with your leftovers, but also from clearance items that you can pick up at the grocery store. There is nothing about this dish that is screaming, oh, this was stale bread. So I'm telling you, in the event that you have leftover bread, don't toss it, absolutely freeze it. And this is the kind of dish that you can make out of it. Because look, when you're tired or just uninspired, you can still put a meal like this together and not break a sweat. So another way that I like to make my meal sequences work for me is that I am going to set aside a portion of this meal for what we're gonna eat 2 nights from now. But then I'm also gonna freeze some of this, y'all, right? Because there are times when I'll just pull out a freezer meal that I've made as I cook throughout the week. And really, I like these size casserole dishes because I don't have to be always committed to making a full on, freezer meal. These are just the right size, sometimes for lunch or just, dinner. Because there are going to be some weeks where it's like freezer meals that we're eating maybe like 2 or 3 times a week, just if things are like super busy. And so when it comes to freezer meals, right? This is a part of my freezer meal routine. It doesn't always have to be like a big old freezer meal day extravaganza. Like that's a lot. Sometimes I have energy for that, but not a whole lot. No, ma'am, Okay, so just to reiterate, about half the pan for now. These 2 pans for later for the freezer. All right, so that wraps it up because we've knocked out 3 dinners. And true to my word, I'll see you on Friday. And now that my work days are going to be longer and I'm going to have more evening events for the next couple of weeks, I'm just so thankful that I have a meal plan that still allows me to get fed nutritiously. These are breakfast and lunch and dinner ideas that are just really doable. Now this meal honestly feels a little bit like takeout. So go ahead and grab meal bin 3. Ta-da! Okay, so go ahead and grab a pan. And you're just gonna add a shallow layer of whatever fat you're using. You can use butter or avocado oil. I am using some tallow. And then cut your burner on low. So tonight we are making risotto balls, which is an excellent recipe to use up basically anything. So grab a bowl and listen, you are about to watch me put this together without any measurements. Now, yes, in the recipe cards, I will have quantities that you can use, but think about this. This meal is coming together not just because I'm doing precise measurements, it's because I also know the look and the feel of this recipe. And I'm telling you, that is just as important. Let me get a spoon. Okay, we got the spoon. So we're gonna dump in our cooked farro, but again, you might be using rice. So whatever starch you're using is your base. And then, oops, wrong one. All right, then we're gonna go ahead and add, if you have any leftover corn, so this is just what I took off the cob. And remember that you can be using fresh or frozen or even canned corn for this. They all work. Then we're gonna add the last of the chicken. And truly, you don't need a lot. The chicken is just there to lend a little bit of flavor. But we are gonna need to dice this up, so I'll do that now. All right, the chicken's diced up, so into the bowl it goes. Go ahead and grab your onion, and we're not gonna use all of this for this recipe, but I do wanna go ahead and just add some diced or minced onion. Okay, y'all, so I'm just coming back from running out to the garden. It is about to rain. I can tell it's kind of like overcast right now. But I just grabbed a little bit of parsley, and then this is basil. I forget what variety it is, but if you have any herbs, like Italian herb seasonings would be great. Whatever you like, right? So pretty much I am cooking with what I need to kind of mow down in the garden that week. And so, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and add some fresh herbs. All right, y'all. So for this first step, the only thing that you need to remember is that you are basically just trying to like season your rice, right? And so you're trying to make it colorful. You're adding different colors. You're adding different textures, right? You're just making sure that this really has a flavor, like multiple flavoring agents. So we have the corn and we have the onion and the herbs. You kind of want this to look like a bean or a pasta salad, right? Again, and that's why you don't need a recipe, because as I shared, you just need to know kind of like what look you're going for. Okay, so there we have it. We have our seasoned farro, and then we've combined all this goodness, but now we need something that's going to help it to like stick together, and that's why we have our eggs. So I've already gone ahead, and remember we set aside 2 eggs, and you're just going to add enough to this mixture to make things wet. So just add 1 egg. Like, I know I'm gonna need 2 because this bowl is pretty big. So I'm now gonna go ahead and add another egg, because you want things to start, you know, sticking together. And right now, like, that ain't happening. Egg number 2. Okay, so I know it's gonna be hard for you to kind of see the binding action of the egg yolk, but I can tell just by looking at it that things are saturated, that the farro is nice and hydrated. And so at this point, what we're going to do is add our breadcrumbs. And you're just gonna add your breadcrumbs little by little, and you mix until the mixture just holds well together. So if it's too wet, like I can still obviously tell it is now, you're just gonna go ahead and add a bit more of your breadcrumbs. And if it's too dry, that's okay. You can just add a splash of broth or a second egg yolk. And I'm gonna need about as much as I measured out. Okay, y'all, so at this point, I actually encourage you to go ahead and use your hands, because that is your hands are going to give you more information than your spoon. And so, yeah, like this is how you know, like you're going to need to feel this, because essentially you're making sure that when you make your risotto balls, that they're able to hold together. And you're not going to know that if you're just using a spoon. As I have shared before, as long as you are using clean hands, it is absolutely okay to cook with your hands from time to time. They are your best kitchen tool. And I just recommend doing things like, I keep my nails short, you know, as long as your nail bed is clean. And so, yeah, don't be afraid to get your hands in there. Oh my goodness, this smells so good. Oh yeah, it's the sound of moistness too. Can you hear that? See? Yeah. Oh, yes. All right, y'all. So this next step is optional, but it's so much fun, especially if you already have, you know, block cheese. And you can use whatever you want. So this is going to be some sharp cheddar, which is not going to be enough. So I think oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so I also have some pepper jack, but I want to go ahead and use this up first. But you're just gonna cut this into little cubes, because as we go ahead and shape our little risotto balls, we're just gonna stick a little like cube in the center, and then that way when you bite into it, you just get this like cheesy, gooey surprise. And this does not take, I mean, it makes the meal look even more high effort than what it already is. And it doesn't take a lot of time, right? Like, yeah, this is actually going to be enough cheese. Yeah. Perfect. But guess what? Because y'all, with my meal sequences, I will easily go ahead and, as I said, roll it into the next week sometimes. And you know what? Next time, though, when my family bites into it, they're going to have a little, like, spicy little kick heat to it. I mean, and that's just how you keep things low maintenance for your brain, but then you still just, switch it up. Okay, this is perfect. Yeah, like, it just needs to be that size. Okay, so grab a plate. And then we are going to go ahead and use the leftover breadcrumbs. So I'm just going to put those right here. And now this is our little assembly line ending in the plate. So you're just going to go ahead and take some in your hand. Whatever size you want. I don't like them to be too large. And you do want to like keep them pretty much like all the same size so that they cook evenly. And then you're just going to have like just make like a little dimple there, and then take your little cube of cheese, press it in the center, and then, pat it again. And then you're going to just stick it here in can you see that? Yep. Okay. Yeah, you're just going to toss it around to give it a little extra coat there. It'll end up looking like this. And then I'm just going to put it on the plate back here, okay? Okay, so I'm just coming back from the fridge because we almost missed a flavoring opportunity. So one of the things, and again, this is where you can make it your own, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with the Dijon. So if you want to go ahead and add like a little bit more of whatever kind of sauce that you were using, this is where you want to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix this in here. But if you have, barbecue sauce, or if you want to make it spicy, whatever, go ahead and add that in. And then I am also serving this with our side of just some sauteed green beans. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the skillet on. All right, we've got our green beans crackling in the back, and we're gonna go ahead and add our delicious risotto balls to the pan. Now maybe after just like 3 minutes, you just wanna gently flip them. They don't take long at all to cook. Maybe just between like 6 to 10 minutes. And I have my heat on just a number 2 out of, what is this, 8? Yeah. You don't want the grease popping, right? Don't burn yourself. And just like that, friends, dinner is done. So now all we're gonna do is just take a plate, and then I just take a little cloth. We use these as napkins here. And you're just gonna go ahead and put your risotto balls on the cloth just to drain. Oh, don't these look so good? So good. Oh yeah. You are absolutely going to want to dump your balls into this sauce. Look at what you just made on a Friday night after working all week. So y'all, I literally just take this plate to our table, and then Trey will grab our glasses and plates. And then I will take the green beans. I'm not even going to dirty up another bowl. I'm going to put them on this trivet right in the center of the table, and we're ready to chow down. There are two things that I really like about this recipe. The first is that it comes together pretty quickly. And yes, while you are going to have to kind of shape the balls, it's not a like dish heavy recipe. There is one mixing bowl, and then I'm looking at my cutting board here, and then that's it. So that's a win. And then second, this dish just kind of like, it's the thing that you want to kind of, it has like takeout vibes, or like, oh, Friday night, let's go out to eat, which again, arancini typically, or these risotto balls, are typically like one of your more expensive appetizers. And really, it's just like rice, you know? Yes, like they have to be made in advance, but they don't take that long. And so I just, like on a Friday night, the fact that I already had all of these ingredients cooked is what makes a meal like this possible, because I'm not starting from scratch. Okay, these are still very, very hot, but I want to go ahead, y'all. Oh my goodness. Let's go ahead and open up so you can see the center here. This is so much fun to eat. Can you see the cheese there? Hold on, let me scoot back. Ah! I know, Thor, I'm sorry I scared you. All right, so here's our cheesy center. Did you hear that crunch? These are so good. Yeah, I'm getting the bits of chicken that's in there. Oh, the basil is basiling. So good, that fresh herb taste. And then like, I wouldn't be able to tell that this was specifically, you know, farro. So it's really, really good. There's just so much flavor baked in. And then I love like the corn bites that are in here. This just makes you happy. I'm telling you, these are so good, you don't even need any of the sauce. But let's go ahead and add it. Oh yeah. This is gonna be so good. All right, y'all, I gotta get this to the table while it's hot. So there you have it. You've just seen how someone with a very busy schedule can still get dinner on the table without stress. You don't have to be a professional chef, and I'm not a superhuman in the kitchen. I'm probably just like you, so I know that if I can do it, you can too. For more Dinners Done inspiration, click the video on your screen. I'll see you in my kitchen or garden soon. Take care, friends.